MVP and a 3-time champ. He's one of the only 8 players in NBA history to do that. ESPN's Brian Windhorst wrote that Curry is making a run at being on the NBA's Mount Rushmore. Hall of Famer Steve Nash echoed that. Nash said about Curry, "I hate to break it to you, but he's already an all-time great. He's the ultimate one-off. He's the evolution of basketball and evolved before our eyes. There's layers to his place in the zeitgeist. People don't associate him to greatness because he doesn't dominate the game. Physically, he dances. He pays a tax for that. He pays a tax for his great teammates." All right, Shannon. Steph headed to Mount Rushmore.
No, I don't believe he can make it to Mount Rushmore, but I do think he's changed the game. I think he's done for the three-point shot what Michael Jordan did for the dunk, Skip. When Michael Jordan came into the league, the tongue hanging out, everybody wanted to dunk. It wasn't good enough to have a mid-range game. Obviously, the three-point shot wasn't what it is now, but everybody wanted to dunk, and they wanted to dunk on someone. So what Michael did for the dunk, obviously there were guys dunking before Mike, but Mike took it to a new level. There were guys that shot the three. Ray Allen shot the three, but he didn't change it like Steph Curry has done. Also, I don't believe you can make it to Mount Rushmore when you're not the best player on your team. And you got to look at that. He's not better than Kevin Durant. He's not. I'm sorry. I wish I could give it to you in a simple, in a more. I'm not as analytical.
I mean, you've made the case he's more important, right?
But you give me a choice. Do you want a great little man or a great big man?
That's it.
And I'm gonna take the great big man.
Simple as that.
All the time. Pippen talked about, and Scottie Pippen has, said he's sacrificed, since KD's gotten there. The year before KD got there, he went from taking 20 shots a game to 18, 17, and now he's back to 20. That's not a sacrifice. 1 to 2 shots a game is not a sacrifice, especially when the 1 to 2 shots that you're not taking, those other 18 are great shots. Kevin loves sacrifice. He went from 18 down to 12. That's a sacrifice. He went from getting the ball and shooting anytime he wanted to, he wasn't the second option. He was the third option. And a lot of times that option was a bailout option. So, no. Do I think he's an all-time great player currently as I sit here? Absolutely. You don't win 3 championships. You don't win 2 MVPs and not be already a great all-time great player. But if you put him on Mount Rushmore, who you taking off? I mean, what you gonna do? So you're gonna take Kareem? You're gonna take whomever is up there for you.
Or we could take LeBron off.
Don't do this, Skip. See, there you go, Skip.
Well, you asked
I try my best. I try my best not to get upset. I said I'm not gonna do the gummies today.
Continue.
But you ruined it. But Skip, I think he's an all-time great player. No question in my mind. But all-time great players, because there's a reason why they went and got KD. They knew after the Cavs had beaten them in 2016, they're not beating the Cavs with Kyrie and Kevin Love again. That wasn't going to happen. So they had to go get a neutralizer. They had to go get an equalizer. And they went and called a 7-foot monster that there's no answer for. We've never seen anything like him before. So, no, that alone is going to keep him off Mount Rushmore.
That is correct. So, if we want to build a Mount Rushmore just based on game changing, just on evolution of basketball, I'll put him on that Mount Rushmore because I'll start with Bill Russell, defense, shot blocking. He changed the way people thought about playing defense, rim protecting. I'll put Wilt on there because he changed the game at the rim the way nobody could because he was 7 feet 1 inches tall.
A lot of the rules had to be
and the rules all had to change, and he did score 100 points in a game, right? And I'll put MJ on there for the dunk, and I'll put Steph on there for the distance shot because nobody has ever shot it from distance the way this still young man still shoots it. He's already off to the races this year. He's the first one through 8 games to have 5+ threes, X number of times. He's already off. He's just doing things we've never seen before.
He might break his record, Skip, before 06. That's ridiculous.
It's just ridiculous. But back to your point, and back to Steve Nash's point, there is a tax on what he has chosen to do. And the tax is Mount Rushmore. You're off. You're disqualified because you chose prohibitive favorite team over Mount Rushmore, right? You went and recruited Kevin. He was the point man for the Kevin Durant recruitment, right?
Yes.
When they went to Long Island, remember that?
Absolutely.
And back to the Scottie Pippen quote. This is Scottie saying that Steph's willingness to sacrifice for KD is one of the great stories in basketball history. Well, it's also one of the ungreatest stories in basketball history, right?
Yeah, a two-time MVP.
Two-time, and you again, Kevin left Russ in Oklahoma City, and you had them down 3-1, and then you go join forces here. Well, that's not a great story, right? No. And for Steph to say, I can't do this by myself, I need help. And now, if I have to nitpick, and remember, I'm the biggest Steph fan. I campaigned before that draft for the Clippers to take him #1 overall, and they took Blake Griffin. Would that have not changed some history?
Yeah.
Okay. But how would Steph have done with a different coach in a different setting? I don't know.
Right.
But this was perfect. And then Steve Kerr came in for Mark Jackson, and it just sort of took off, right?
Correct.
So are they as prohibitive a favorite right now as we've ever seen in the history of this league?
Absolutely.
Because they got DeMarcus Cousins waiting in the wings, right? So it's not fair. But the point is that he has 3 rings and he has no finals MVPs. Is that fair or unfair? But if we're talking about Mount Rushmore, you need accolades, right?
Yes.
And Iggy won it over him the first time around. And then Kevin obviously won back-to-back. And then I'm going to nitpick here, but I'm going to go back to that fateful Game 7. LeBron's 1 ring in Cleveland. What happened to Steph in that game at Oracle? That's a home game, 7, against LeBron and Kyrie when it's kind of an even playing field. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Because there's no Kevin Durant. It's you and Clay and Draymond against LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love, right? Okay, so that's kind of a fair fight, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
And what happened in Game 7? Steph scored 17, but it was on 6 of 19 shots. He was 4 of 14 from 3. He had only 2 assists and 4 turnovers in that game. This is Game 7 now. This is Rushmore. And in the fourth quarter, he scored a grand total of 3 points, and he was 1 for 6 from the field and 1 for 5 from 3, and had that one horrendous turnover when he flipped it behind his back into the third row.
Right.
Okay, that's not a great fourth quarter.
No.
And it was kind of a seesaw game, back and forth. Neither team played great in the fourth quarter, but that's your game, right? Is that a Rushmore game?
No.
He had it in the palm of his hand, and he couldn't pull it off. But has he changed the game? Well, sure he is.
Because that's what everybody's doing now. I mean, all things being equal. Think about it, Skip. DeAndre Ayton is 7 foot tall, and he's shooting threes. Mo Bamba has an 8.5 foot wingspan. He's shooting threes. Can you imagine Patrick?
Jokic. Jokic just stands out there and shoots like moon balls. I'm saying, what are you doing?
Maybe Elijah Wan, maybe Patrick Ewing, if they got the ball with 3 seconds, they would throw up. But they're not going behind the three-point line to try to launch a 3, and that's what we've seen. So Steph Curry, the evolution of the three-point ball can be traced to Steph Curry, because there have been other great three-point shooters, Reggie Miller, Ray Allen. Those guys didn't do for the three-point shot what he's done for the three-point shot.
And by the way, the three-pointer, especially shot by this guy in this building at Oracle, is the most psychologically damaging shot in basketball. It used to be the dunk. There was a time when you got dunked out of the building psychologically. But now, when he starts making these, where he's making them from 35, 40 feet, like they're free throws, the crowd goes berserk for this, and it's hard to win a game at Oracle.
And it's hard to be the GOAT, Skip, when you have 3 guys that's already gotten 40 points in the game, and you're 7 games into the season. How you be? You got a guy that went and got on 27 minutes. He went and got 52 the other night. You had another guy that just scored 25 in the fourth quarter.
Okay, so what if Steph, let's just do the hypothetical. What if he were a Clipper and he were doing this by himself? By himself.
Now we have a discussion.
And they were like a 7th seed and an 8th seed. Then what, would you feel differently? Because I don't know. Maybe you'd be saying, wow, he deserves more Rushmore consideration.
And especially with the evolution of the three-point shot, he's doing this. He get the Clippers to a final. I mean, getting don't get me wrong, because the Warriors used to be a laughingstock. I mean, before they had Run TMC.
I covered them for a while, and they were worse than they were out of sight, out of mind. They were irrelevant.
You're exactly right. But if it's just hard for me, Skip, knowing that KD is there. And KD was the guy that put them over the hump, because I don't believe they're a dynasty. I don't believe we're having this discussion had KD not gone there. Because I believe we might be having a discussion and things might be different in Cleveland. Who knows? Maybe LeBron stays. Maybe Kyrie doesn't ask her is a better player than Kevin Durant. And if you're not the best player on your own team, how can you be a Mount Rushmore? Like I said, who are you taking off? Because remember, to put somebody on, you got to take somebody off. And what about the guys that's waiting in line talking about me? Larry Bird got something. I mean, if Kareem's not up there, Kareem's like, whoa, I got 38,000 points, 6 MVPs, 10 finals appearances. What am I going to... Will, if Will's not on there, if Russell's not up there, Jordan, LeBron. So, what we talking about?
I'm now willing to give LeBron consideration for Mount Rushmore after he made that free throw last night.
You know what, Skip?
I am, because that was huge. He made a late game-winning free throw.
I wonder if they...
That's big against the Dallas Mavericks.
I think Shannon thinks he's already up there.
That got them to...
That's what these old gummy men.
Very nice of you. All right, Skip, we're going to talk more about LeBron then. Were there more positives or negatives? Skip's a little bit more impressed now. We'll discuss with Chris Broussard next.